Bashar Hafez al-Assad was born on 11 September 1965. He is the president of Syria, having held the position since 17 July 2000. Born into Syria's Alawite minority in Damascus, he is the second son of Hafez al-Assad, who ruled Syria from 1971 to 2000. Unlike his older brother Basil, Bashar was not initially groomed for leadership and pursued an education in medicine, graduating from Damascus University in 1988 and later specializing in ophthalmology in London. His career trajectory shifted drastically after Basil's death in a car accident in 1994. Bashar returned to Syria and underwent accelerated military and political training, preparing to succeed his father. By the time Hafez al-Assad died in 2000, Bashar had risen through the ranks of the military and Ba'ath party, enabling a smooth transition of power. Upon his father's death, Syria's parliament swiftly amended the constitution, lowering the minimum age for the presidency from 40 to 34, enabling Bashar to assume the role. Initially, there was optimism that he would bring reform and modernize Syria, given his Western education and relatively modest demeanor compared to other Arab leaders. Bashar al-Assad's presidency began with a brief period of political liberalization, dubbed the Damascus Spring, during which intellectuals and civil society groups called for democratic reforms. However, the government quickly cracked down on dissent, ending hopes for substantive change. Assad's leadership has been characterized by tight state control over political, economic, and social life, consistent with his father's legacy. While there were some moves toward economic liberalization, such as opening up the private sector and encouraging foreign investment, widespread corruption and cronyism persisted. The benefits of these changes largely went to Syria's elite, leaving much of the population in poverty. The most defining aspect of Bashar al-Assad's presidency has been the Syrian civil war, which began in 2011 following the Arab Spring uprisings. Protests against corruption, repression, and economic hardship were met with brutal force by Assad's security apparatus, sparking a nationwide rebellion. The conflict evolved into a complex and multifaceted war involving various opposition groups, jihadist factions like ISIS, Kurdish militias, and international powers including the United States, Russia, and Iran. Assad's government has been accused of widespread atrocities, including chemical weapons use, indiscriminate bombings, and mass detentions. These actions have drawn widespread condemnation, though Assad and his allies have denied the accusations. Despite massive losses and a devastated economy, Assad has managed to remain in power, thanks largely to the military and financial support of Iran and Russia. By 2020, Assad's forces had regained control of most of Syria, although significant regions remain outside government control, particularly in the northeast and northwest. Bashar al-Assad's relations with the international community have been strained. Early in his rule, Syria was engaged diplomatically with Western nations, but the civil war led to widespread condemnation and sanctions. Arab states, once key allies, turned against him, with Syria being suspended from the Arab League in 2011. However, in recent years, Assad has worked to rebuild regional ties. Several Arab countries, including the United Arab Emirates and Saudi Arabia, have re-engaged diplomatically, reflecting a broader geopolitical shift. His strategic alliance with Russia and Iran has been pivotal in securing his regime. Bashar al-Assad is a deeply polarizing figure. His supporters view him as a defender of Syrian sovereignty against terrorism and foreign intervention. Critics, however, see him as a brutal autocrat responsible for mass atrocities and the destruction of his country. Under his leadership, Syria has experienced one of the most devastating conflicts of the 21st century, resulting in over 500,000 deaths, millions of refugees, and widespread destruction. The country's economy remains in ruins, with high unemployment, food insecurity, and infrastructure collapse. As of 2024, Bashar al-Assad continues to rule Syria, a nation profoundly scarred by war and international isolation, yet seeking a path toward reconstruction and reintegration into the global community.